My name's Councillor Peter Woodland. I'm Deputy Leader of Warwickshire and Council. I'm stepping in for Izzy second, as she has to be in London today. And so, welcome to Warwickshire. I know it goes rotates around the whole of the county, and it's Warwickshire's turn. Any apologies? I think we've got Izzy, which I've just mentioned. Monica, Al Franks from the Neaton, Andrew Mobbs, who's been substituting Michael.
Chair, I must leave at 12 o'clock and bring it back.
That's fine. Dave Webb, who's been subbed by David Buckland, and Martin Reeves is, I think Martin Alex here. Yep. That's right. Yep, Martin. And Jonathan Browning. Apologies.
Yep.
There we go.
Right.
All right. Minutes of the last meeting. And we all got a copy. I'll take you through page by page. Page 2, page 3, page 4. Happy with those? Matters arising, okay. Chris?
Yes, Chairman, the minute 15.1 refers to me, because I chaired the last meeting, to write a letter to the Sustainability and Transformation Leader for Coventry, Andy Hardy, asking for the Joint Committee to be briefed in private. I did slightly better than that. I actually went to see him, right? Yeah. And I found him to be extremely flexible. He explained to me the clear constraints that he had on production. I know not just locally, but through work that I do at the LGA, I picked up that there were national concerns about the timescale that various authorities, various health authorities have been given in order for the STP reports to be produced. And I think even then they were produced in a bit of a mismatch at the end of the day, some slightly missing targets. But however, he was extremely amenable, and I think we haven't issued him a formal invitation, but I could report positively that he was keen to get out on the stump and meet us, and effectively Stratford District are also negotiating through their scrutiny committee, are busy, and I just leave it open to the committee to do what they want, but I'll report back on the action I was given.
We can, it's on the agenda, Chris, and we'll kind of make reference to that point. Thanks very much, Chris. Any other comments on the minutes? No. First major item on the agenda is housing and employment land memorandum of understanding. I think Chris is going to do a few words about this one. There we go, Chris. So over to you, Chris.
Thank you. This will appear odd because it's an office from Warwickshire Council, and obviously the subject matter is non-Neaton and Bedworth Borough Plan. But obviously the aspect of this report is about the sub-regional context, and the issues for us all. I think all members will know that we have memorandum of understandings in place regarding housing and employment. We will all know that Nuneaton weren't able to sign up to the housing one because it hadn't completed its process about the strategic council land development assessment. We know that Nuneaton did sign up to the employment land MOU, but with a caveat because it still had outstanding concerns regarding infrastructure provision. They obviously worked through their process, and the position is, as they now taken their borough plan forward for approval by its cabinet, and then obviously for submission, that the housing numbers in the borough plan are just over 2,000 houses short, and about roughly rounding it up, about 9.5 hectares short of employment land. The issue for us all is clearly the consequences of that, effectively the sub-regional housing need and employment land need therefore being met, and the consequences for us all in all sorts of ways. And we know how difficult it is to get a borough plan to be going forward. We all know that. We've all had our agonies and no ecstasies whatsoever. And clearly we want to all support Nuneaton going forwards, just as I think this joint committee has all supported each authority in bringing its individual plans forward. But nevertheless, there are some processes we really need to put in place. This may feel unfair, but I think it's in order to ensure that there is a robust process, it is for the benefit of everyone. So if I could draw members' attentions to paragraph 8 in the report, the heading is process and timetable. And what we're setting out there is really what we need to do effectively from next week, which is effectively and collectively to test the Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment, SHLA. I hate that, the acronym, but I'll have to use it. To make sure, from all the other authorities' point of view, that what Nuneaton have put forward actually is the case. Depending what the outcome of that is, then to be thinking of options on the way forward and to recommend a way back. Now we have another planned joint committee, and I know there are maybe some issues about the precise date, for the 8th of March. But Nuneaton's consultation period is programmed to end on the 13th of March. So in theory, this joint committee really needs to meet to consider effectively the conclusion of that process before the end of that consultation period, which kind of limits us. And clearly, officers and kind of the process out here needs enough time. So there are not many days that we're going to have in order to do that. So in terms of what we're asking for the joint committee is to agree that process and the timetable. It's worth, I suppose, just noting the risks depending upon what the outcome is. If we find as we go through that we can see that the evidence base that Nuneaton put forward stands, then the sub-region has a problem about what in particular to do with the 2,000 or so houses. And we'll then need to consider, sharp intake of breath, how we review the MOU, what that might mean for other councils around this table and their plans as well. That will not be, as you can imagine, and as you already know, an easy or quick process. It could be, but my experience today would suggest that it won't be. So that's one issue that we would then have to deal with, which might have implications for Nuneaton being able to go forward to its next stage, because that housing, what's it actually against? And indeed other councils who, if you like, are some stages back in the process. For example, not picking on anyone particular, but Rugby, who's happy next door, who are coming forward, but who could be implicated because there's a housing order that needs to be considered. At the other end, it could be that no one is convinced by the evidence base, and the challenge goes back to say, in extremists, Nuneaton, actually you do need to find, and we believe that you can find the land for 2,000 or so houses, and actually if you don't, very clearly you're going to fail the duty to cooperate, and actually you won't be able to go forward, because that will be the first test that any inspector will actually put down. So one way or another, whatever the scenario of outcomes, and I've given you probably the two extreme versions, I'm sure there are bits in grey in between, we will need to have a process to arrive to a conclusion and identify a way forward pretty quickly. Now, the timing of this is being driven by Nuneaton's consultation period, and I think that there just may need to be, as we get towards the time of the next joint committee, needs to be potential to ask Nuneaton to think about allowing a little bit more time rather than rushing into submission in order to address these issues, and that is for the benefit of everyone, including Nuneaton on this. So this feels like it is a bit of a go, and I'm sorry if that comes across that way. It isn't intended to be. It's intended to try and make sure that we have, collectively, we have a process in place where we can iron out any difficulties and help all of the plans get to go forward towards adoption. If we do not, if you think we have a problem now, then actually the mess we will be left with will be far bigger, will take even far longer, and as you know, when you don't have a plan in place, you're much more exposed to development by appeal. Now I know that some people have got a plan in place and still subject to that, but the degree and the risk is much greater. And if we want some good communities with properly planned infrastructure, properly planned growth, that is not really the way forward. So this is a kind of a call. It's in everyone's interest to agree a process for how we deal with a very difficult issue. And apologies if it feels like we're picking on the meeting. It isn't. It's just we recognise there's an issue there and collectively we need to deal with it.
Chair, I'm not used to a position of councillors arguing with officers, but when statements are made, it inevitably happens, as it did at a previous meeting. Nuneaton's position is very clear. We've outlined the way forward. We know we've got a duty to cooperate. That's something imposed upon us, not our choice. It's an imposition from government, but we accept that that is the case. And it is in fact looking at the numbers which that has been worked through now, and in fact there is a meeting very shortly with, as is outlined here, with officers. I personally would have preferred the next meeting not to be on the 8th of March, but the week after, which to my way of thinking solves that problem in terms of the difficulties of dates. And I've been mystified as to why it has to be on the 8th. I can't actually come on the 8th of March, and I've made this point several times in the last couple of weeks. No blame to the person who organised the meeting, but I've made that point, and it seems to me that that meeting would have been better the following week, which fits in with everybody's timetable in relation to this.
I don't think there's any issue about the precise date if it's the following week, if we can do that. I'm just going by the date that had been circulated around that had been agreed, so...
Well, Chair, it wasn't agreed, I'm sorry. The date was fixed the same day that the email was sent out, before many of us had had a chance to reply.
Chris?
Yeah. Right, then these meetings, we've often had debates about these meetings, and they have to be timed if we're to be effective, so that we can consider the agenda for the LEP. The next LEP meeting is on the 20th of March, in which case I would agree with Dennis that the 8th is premature, because we won't have these papers here in order to discuss them. So if that would help, although I could probably actually raising another conflict here by raising this, but as Celestine behind me knows, I've often challenged dates, and there are some of us that would have wished today hadn't happened, but it does actually link in effectively with the LEP meeting on Monday. The reason for today is because some of us would have liked to have gone to Stafford and seen the Secretary of State, but however, we're here. So to a degree, without wishing to embarrass Celestine, we wondered whether the 8th was effectively the most appropriate date to pick if the LEP board is meeting on the 20th. And I would welcome a change, not for the same reasons as Dennis, but for others, so that when we get to this meeting, we can consider the LEP board agenda. However, what I was also then going to speak about, before that, I've raised that because he did, is the question of the employment land and the shortfall from Nuneaton. I think all of us, and I've been continually harassed by Craig Humphrey, so Bill may well wish to comment on what I'm about to say, but I'm not going to challenge what Craig has said in the past. But the issue is that, we do need to make certain employment land is there if we are going to be effective in our strategic planning. And indeed, Stratford has struggled a bit, because if we wanted to put, we got some employment land which was in the green belt knocked out by the planning inspector, and then we got some other stuff put in its place, and then we were told to watch it, because if we went too strong on employment land, we'd have to increase our objectively assessed housing need. And then I get people like those at the back of the room come waving banners at us that we agreed at one time to have so many houses, yet it's suddenly appearing to be a lot more. And I can back up Dennis again by knowing that having to take a lot more in Stratford, that there has been every opportunity for those in power to impose more housing on us. And it's probably best to live with the outcome if we want to take control of our planning system. So consequently, the question of employment land I think is important. And I think we as a joint committee need to keep an eye on land availability amongst us all. That's as much as I want to say on that today. So I don't then get Craig Humphrey badgering me for not having enough.
Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. I think three points. Firstly, on the dates, we can have a look at that again. I think there's a problem with availability of rooms in Coventry, which is where the next meeting will come. If the end result of that is we have to push Coventry's meeting back, but that's why I thought we can put somebody else in that time. But we can have a look at that. I think the second point is if the consultation on the Leeds plan finishes on the 13th of March, and we want an agreed position in favour or otherwise from this joint committee, then clearly we're going to have to have a meeting before the 13th of March, and therefore the 8th does actually fit quite well into that. So I think, again, that's something we'll have to weigh the balance. Third point, I think, on the substantive point, is that all we're doing here is the same process that we did in Coventry. It is acceptable to not take all of your housing, if that's appropriate, and all we're looking at is setting the timetable, we'll see whether it's appropriate. Coventry didn't take all its housing, but there was an agreement to that, and we all agreed. We're just doing the same process to the next cab off the round, if you like, as we have in Coventry. So I don't think we need to get too much into debate about the whys and wherefores. This is a process for us to try and do the same with the next plan as we did with the first plan. So we'll look again at the date if we can, but clearly if it's after the 13th of March, we're going to have to work out whether or not the joint committee puts a response in, or whether the voters do it individually.
Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I disagree slightly again with an officer's perspective. Of course, we are in a different position now because many of us are in the throes of local plan, and although we will contribute fully to this process, as we always do, I have to say, taking an officer's view, this is going to be very, very challenging for us in Rugby, and we are in the final throes. We've just completed our consultation period, the final throes of putting all that together to go to council, proposed at the end of March, and I would argue that possibly Rugby is at the most significant risk in this room at the moment through this latest announcement. However, we will play our part, but I must place on record that it's going to be very, very difficult for us, where our priority has to be to get Rugby's local plan through, to make sure that we've got a local plan, because if we don't do it in the next few months, we are not going to get a local plan through in the next year, and that's going to have severe financial implications for Rugby and our medium-term financial plan, and that's a risk we just can't take. So we will play our part, but I would argue that actually things have moved on and things are very different to what they were when we considered Coventry's shortfall in the past. So with those caveats, of course, we'll do all we can, and I commit officers' time, but the priority for them is to do our own local plan and take into account our own residents' views.
The one thing that does come to mind, and as an observation, there's an imperative, whatever date we set for the next meeting, it's what happens in between here and the next meeting is going to be important in terms of determination of these local plans, because all the districts and boroughs are in kind of varying degrees of pain in terms of our land allocation and housing allocation, etc. The one thing that's come across from the region as a whole is we are going to run out of employment land in the next 2 years. And the trouble with allocating more employment land is with it goes housing. And really, really ought to be lobbied on central government, because it's not necessarily the case when you have more employment land, when you can see sheds taking up several acres, or hundreds of acres in some cases, which we employ relatively small amounts of people, but they need big spaces because of automation. So the kind of the formula by which they calculate according to allocation of building land, employment land, and relate that back to housing is out of date. It's also very, very difficult for the districts and boroughs to kind of hold to that in terms of housing allocation, as it stands at the moment, without allocating more employment land. So, if the government wants more growth, it needs to be more flexible in its approach. Mike?
Sorry, Chair, I know I've just spoken, but directly related to that point, I'll encourage my colleagues, if they haven't already done so. I've had 2 meetings with the Minister on that exact topic, and the officers at Rugby have also met with civil servants on that. And as I understand it, the guidance on additional housing for employment land comes from exactly that guidance associated with the NPPF. And we've lobbied the Minister to look at that in some detail, because I think it's important that, particularly when you have sheds, as a senior official said to me, so if you're adding additional employment land and you're increasing housing, where are you taking those houses from? And of course, we're not taking them from anywhere, but we're not generating more people, we're generating more jobs in a different area. So it's, for me, it's a shortfall and one that we should continue to lobby on.
Yeah, I agree. Any other comments?
I think the only matter I'm concerned about, really, this is a question of process, and the process that can take place. If the date's going to be moved, I've got no objection to that. Perhaps then you can give us a little longer consultation period, which would overcome any difficulty over the 13th.
The difficulty we have with that is the same as just been expressed for Rugby, that every small delay then generates a bigger delay. And one of the problems that we've encountered, and I'm sure you've all encountered the same, is that if you delay something for a month, during that month some new information comes out that's then got to be addressed and analysed. You then have to commission a new evidence base, and what was a small delay becomes a very large delay. So we are under pressure to maintain, I apologise, there may be some flexibility, but very little, but we do appreciate that if we can't show that flexibility, we run a risk of having a more uncomfortable ride through the process.
I think in fact the procedure that was put forward actually only gave us a week anyway.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about perhaps is an extra week, which would put the programme back in the same position of a week's, if you like, after our meeting, to join in the consultation or not. That can't affect it at all. Effectively, we were suggesting the 8th of March, and then I'll move it forward to the 13th. It went on to the 20th, shall we say. That's a week on their consultation, and puts us back on this programme. I mean, I think it is essential that we do cooperate in this way, so we all know where we are. I mean, because we all have the same problem. Nuneaton's got a problem because it can't provide the necessary, they say. Well, that's fine. Maybe we'll be supporting, maybe we won't. But we need to know. We need to know and be sure what the position, our position will be.
All right, before I say, Dennis.
Well, Chair, I'm happy in these circumstances to leave it on the 8th. Deputy Leader will be here instead of myself, and we'll put the position of Nuneaton clearly. Just in relation to dates, one of the reasons we did fix around these dates was because of we used to look at the LAP agenda, but in fact, hopefully, from Monday onwards, the leaders of all the districts in Warwickshire, along with Coventry and Warwickshire, will all have a representative on the LAP anyway. So I'm not very keen on having reading the same agenda 3 times over, and I personally don't see the need to go through the LAP agenda if we're all there at the meeting 3 days later.
Back comment. We'll stick to the original agenda then, because it can be addressed, as you're saying, through the LAP. Any other comments on this one, apart from the obvious plan that districts and boroughs around this week? Steve again.
Chairman, I'll make 2 points. The first one being dealt with in terms of restricting to the 8th of March. The other issue is we do need to start the process, so I invite the committee to agree those 3 recommendations that are at the end of the report.
And you're comfortable in kind of bringing the evidence to kind of support this? That's fine. All right.